Hey guys, the Gaming Critic here. Today I wanted to try a new style of video, just like a quick little review type deal that's just kind of unscripted. So I'm just gonna be kind of yapping because I have a couple of other projects I'm working on, and I'm also just a busy person, and I'm just an amateur content creator. So I don't want to stress myself out and put too much of a workload on myself. But I did still really want to talk about Lost Records Bloom and Rage, because I actually, time of recording this video, I just finished tape 1 like maybe about an hour or so ago, and I just want to get on the mic and just talk about it. So like I said, this isn't going to be like a formal review or any type of thing, but then I was hesitant because I'm usually the type of, like, when I talk about games or review games, I really want to like at least get my thoughts on paper and write something out, but I have nothing here. I don't even have bullet points, so I'm really just going off the cuff here. But yeah, so this will probably be quick, but I should probably just like get into it. Basically, as some of you may or may not know, Lost Records Bloom and Rage is Don't Nod's, I guess you could say it's a spiritual success. I would call it that, a spiritual successor to Life is Strange, which Don't Nod isn't involved in making anymore, or something like that. I guess it's gone completely to Deck 9, so Deck 9 is just gonna continue those games from here on out. And I mean, realistically, double exposure seemed to mark the end of Life is Strange as we know it. I mean, Deck 9 has apparently taken that series and just running with it and doing something. They're about to MCU-ify it or something like that. But Don't Nod has created a Life is Strange-esque game, and I actually think that it's pretty good. I'm not the biggest Life is Strange fan. I feel like I keep reiterating that on this channel, but I do really like those games. I saw the potential in like the first Life is Strange, and even Life is Strange 2, which are both of the two Life is Strange Don't Nod games. I never played that other Life is Strange style game they put out. I think it was called Say My Name or something like that. Whatever that game's called, I believe that was Don't Nod 2. Never played that, but when Lost Records, ever since it was like announced, ever since I first saw the initial trailer, I was intrigued by it. And even that, I just got more and more interested as time came closer to release and they put out more stuff for it. And then the game came out and got it, played through it, and I have thoughts. So I guess we should just get right into them. First off, Lost Records Bloom and Rage is another like teen kind of choice decision-making adventure about a young teenage girl named Swan who falls in with this group of misfits. The other girls in the group are named Kat, Autumn, and Nora, and this group of girls have a very like fun and interesting dynamic that you get to see grow over the course of the first tape. And I'll say this, something about this game that really surprised me is I expected the writing to not be as, I don't want to say sharp, I don't know if that's entirely right. The writing in this game isn't anything like to die for. It didn't like blow me away or anything like that, but I will say it wasn't an improvement over, I would say, the first Life is Strange, and even Life is Strange 2, as much as I really like that game. But I don't know, something at the heart of it really is like they really nail the dynamic of this group of girls. Like, it's really fun to see them hang out and interact, and it feels so, I don't want to be like, oh, it feels so real and authentic, but I mean, it kind of does. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing their friendship bloom, if you will. I thought it was a lot of fun, and like I said, very well written and heartwarming, I guess you could say, you know, as cheesy as that might sound. And also, for a group of teenage girls, they actually aren't annoying. Like, I'm not just saying that because I think teenage girls are annoying, but like it's a common trend in a lot of like media that like not just teenagers, but teenagers in general are just written to be like these just angry, angsty, just like depressed, and just like, oh, I hate the world and screw everybody screwed me over, and I that just gets old, and it's really frustrating, and it's not fun to watch unless I don't know, I just like, I was expecting that. If I'm being honest, I kind of was expecting these group of girls to be like super rebellious and just kind of like F the world. And like, I mean, and that like they are rebellious, yes, they are angsty, yes, but they aren't annoying, which is like they just feel like normal teenage girls who have their issues, their insecurities, and they bond over that stuff. And they just like, at the end of the day, these girls just kind of want to like hang out and mind their own business and have fun. Like, they aren't really trying to like bother anybody or mess with anybody, which I guess I just found it kind of refreshing. It's also like there isn't anything major yet, you know. Of course, they're at I mean, if you've played tape 1, or I mean, if you've seen the trailers, you know that there's some supernatural stuff going on. There's like, you know, they touch on and they tease and hint at a lot of that stuff in tape 1. We still don't entirely know what's going on yet, but of course, the high stakes stuff is coming. I assume we'll see more of that in tape 2, but a lot of this episode really was these girls like really like their relationship like forming and bonding, and them just kind of like hanging out and kicking it and just having fun, which I really loved. Now, with that, this game does take place across 2 different like timelines. I guess not timelines, but there's the past and then there's the present, and you hop back and forth between the 2. You primarily play in the past, but there's a lot of the present too. Like, the present actually plays a bigger role than I expected it to, and your choices in the present actually like can like alter like what your story is like in the past. And I don't know if it's like an unreliable narrator thing or like your memories or whatever, or if like everything's kind of like valid, but I don't know. I think that's really cool, but I will say sometimes I feel like the 2 I guess time periods like kind of overlap a little bit too much. Like there will be instances where you're like playing in the past and you'll hear like the voiceover of like the present version, adult versions of like Swan and Autumn like talking over and reminiscing, and sometimes it just kind of doesn't really fit, and sometimes I'm just kind of like, I wish we could just see this stuff play out. But you know, it's not like anything that's too like, it doesn't ruin the game or anything. I just feel like there's some, it makes sense in some places, and then there are other places where I'm like, I feel like they probably could have done without this and just like let us see this play out in the past. But like I said, that's just a little personal gripe with me. But I still do find that the 2 timelines, intersecting like timelines, kind of interesting and kind of fun to mess around with narratively for the most part. And of course, like I've been saying, this game focuses on this group of girls, but I really want to talk about Swan specifically for a second, because I really like Swan as a main character. She's very endearing. She's like this nerdy, quirky, awkward, kind of shy, introverted girl, but like she's kind of like, I feel like what they tried, or what they were trying with like Max as a main character, like the awkward quirkiness, like but like it just works with Swan. It feels more like Swan feels very real, you know, in how she's like characterized. She doesn't feel like this shallow attempt at writing awkward teen girl. She actually feels, it's a very refreshing take, because while she has all those things, at the same time she's very self-assured and radiates confidence even with her underlying insecurities, which I honestly love to see that. It's not often that these types of characters are represented in this way. So yeah, I thought that was awesome. But Swan is also a film nerd, and I think that that's cool, because I am also a film nerd, which makes me like her even more. But what's cool is that Swan walks around with like, she always carries a little camcorder with her, that she walks around, like records different like memoirs and stuff like that, and it's really cool and plays really heavily into the gameplay, which I knew that it would, but I didn't realize just how like much it did, because the gameplay is pretty standard to like, you know, your typical like Life is Strange style game. You like walk around, interact with different things, have dialogue choices, stuff like that. But the recording on the camcorder really adds a whole nother layer of like interesting gameplay to it. Like, you can literally almost borderline, anytime you're like walking around, you can use the camcorder and just walk around in that view and record literally whatever the hell you want. And there's a menu where you can like take the footage that you have, and like you have different memoirs that you can put together, and you take the footage that you actually capture and you can edit it and put it together and literally produce your own memoirs all in the game, which I think is really cool. As someone who loves obviously like editing and putting things together, I thought that was a really, really cool mechanic that I did not expect. And there's even a point where I'm like in Swan's room and I'm like, I play like some footage on the little DVR or whatever. I don't know what the hell it is, and it actually shows like literally like footage that I captured earlier in my playthrough, which I thought was like really, really cool. But yeah, like it's actually so fun. It's also like it plays really heavily into like the narrative and everything like that. Because before it just seemed like, oh, it's like harkening on that like 90s nostalgia of like, oh, she has a camcorder, like cool, which like, you know, it's cool. Like that type of stuff I think it's cool aesthetically. I like the vibe. It doesn't usually like work on me because I was born in the early 2000s. I wasn't around, so like usually that like, you know, that kind of like nostalgia bait essentially with like a lot of this like 80s and 90s stuff that has been like popping off in recent years. It's like it doesn't usually do anything for me because I'm not nostalgic for that time period. I wasn't around, but I do think it's cool. But it really doesn't it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just nostalgia bait. It actually does play a huge role in the gameplay, and it's really, really fun to engage with. So yeah, I just think that is really, really, really cool. It can also make the game feel like a completely different game at times. Like you'll like go into the camera view, and there were the times like where at some points of the game it seemed like I was playing like Blair Witch or something. Like it was crazy. Like I really liked it though. It worked so well for me. But outside of that, like I said, the gameplay is standard. It's still fun and it works, and I think the game also visually is really stunning. The game, I will say, it's a little, for once, a little buggy, little glitchy, like some texture pop-ins here and there, some like lip syncing stuff, some sound mixing issues. You know, it's not the most polished game. It's also locked at 30 frames, which I know a lot of people probably don't like, but I mean, I'm not like a huge like frame rate guy anyway, so it didn't really bother me. But I still think that the game looks visually very nice, and I think that it plays well too. So like I said, you know, technically it's kind of a mess right now. They might like update and tweak it, but I mean, it's nothing game breaking. It wasn't anything that ruined my experience, but I mean, I just thought that was worth pointing out. But overall, I would really say that I like Lost Records Bloom and Rage so far. I'm excited to see where the story goes. I will say that like towards the back half of tape 1, I did start to get a little, not disinterested, but I wasn't as super hardcore into it because it just felt like, I don't know, I'm just really intrigued to see what the hell's going on because I don't quite understand. Yeah, and I know that's the point. They're probably gonna reveal all. I just hope that whatever is going on, it actually makes sense and is interesting, and they aren't building up to this anticlimactic like, oh, that was it, that's the explanation, that's what's going on here, that's what the big fuss is about, the big, you know. I just don't want it to be underwhelming, which, you know, this game, it could very well, like, from I mean, just after the mess that was Double Exposure, I'm just like, I know Double Exposure is a whole different thing, but it just burned me, man. So like, I'm really hoping that tape 2 can stick the landing, because I feel like if it does, this game could really be something special to me. So yeah, I'm really hoping that it sticks the landing, and tape 2 wraps up the story nicely, because it is only 2 tapes. But yeah, I like it so far. That's all I really have to say about the game. I know this wasn't the most in-depth review. I usually like to write something. I write like a script, but I'm already working on some other stuff, and I just don't want to overwhelm myself with stuff. So I'm just gonna try and get this up as soon as I can. And yeah, I hope you guys still liked it. I'm just trying something a little different, trying something a little new, a little more chill. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just a guy with an opinion, and now I want to hear yours. Have you guys played Lost Records Bloom and Rage? And if you have, what are your thoughts? Do you like the game? Are you just not super into it? Like I said, I've seen a lot of negativity, mostly from people who haven't played the game, just like saw trailers and stuff, and they think they know what the game is. And I thought I knew what the game was when I played. I mean, I didn't have negative views of it, but you know, it actually is. I feel like it's a little something a little different than what you might expect. So I would say if you're into stuff like Life is Strange and all that stuff, I would definitely give this game a try eventually. But yeah, that's all from me. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.